startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators, the crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers. Every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there. How did you convince the decision makers? Were you the one making the decisions to invest?
Ultimately, we were the ones making the decisions to invest, but we always had to go to our board and get permission. To me, it's very clear, if our strategy of a portfolio is to invest in the future and invest in companies that are most equipped to grow within the future and support that future vision, then we want to put money into companies that are being innovative and moving towards that.
What changed your industry from investment to Pick My Brain?
We had learned through modeling and data how to add values to the unquantifiable. And so this company that we started called Doing Economics That Works was all about that. Pick My Brain is all about how to monetize the value of a conversation or knowledge, which is something that typically doesn't have a value.
Do you have planned for Pick My Brain in the future? So what are you taking it up to?
Like, even imagine LinkedIn, okay? So LinkedIn, there's 143 million professionals on LinkedIn. I believe that every single one of those professionals could offer a free 30-minute session and a paid 60-minute session. That right there unlocks a $1 trillion economy. I want to take Pick My Brain all the way there. I want 196 countries on Pick My Brain. I'm at 88. I want complete country representation. I want complete diversity.
Assalamu alaikum and hello, this is Saad Allahwala and we're back with another podcast with another amazing startup founder, amazing person who is over from Canada, Maxine Cunningham, who is the founder at Pick My Brain. The name is very interesting, so we're going to learn more how the name came up. But I want to know a bit more about the journey and where are you from exactly and where did you study? So again, I also thank you for coming.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be here. So where am I from? I'm from Alberta, but living in Vancouver, Canada. I did my schooling at the University of Alberta. I did a degree in finance and economics. And then I went over to Kingston, Ontario and did my master's in economics. And those two pieces of education taught me, number one, how to invest money, how the stock market works, how to move money. And economics taught me how to allocate scarce resources equitably and how to put a value on non-monetary things. And the combination of those two things actually helped me insurmountably with Pick My Brain, which is all about monetizing knowledge.
Yes. And the first time I got introduced to you was before Future Fest. I was making a list of who to interview for the podcasts. And then I started to learn more about your product. I saw your podcast with Taha also back in Austin.
Nice.
And I've just been following you since then. A great honor to have you. So how did you, I know you started off with Pick My Brain after a lot of things that you did. So up forward in your career. Where did you start? So you studied finance. Did you do something in finance?
So I did work in finance. My first job in finance was to help manage my university's $2 million investment fund with a team of 10. It was a 2-year commitment and you had to be accepted. And it was a very cool opportunity. I was the only girl on the team, but was given, $2 million, a Bloomberg terminal and education on how to operate that Bloomberg terminal. And I was responsible for the energy portfolio the energy sector within our portfolio, which was the largest section in our portfolio because we were from Alberta. And Alberta is a very resource rich, energy intensive province. And so that experience taught me so much. Number one, how to manage $2 million, how to communicate what we were doing as a fund with our strategy to a board of advisors, how to log in and manage and utilize a Bloomberg terminal, what information was provided with a Bloomberg terminal, and how to trade and sell stocks in a way that was aligned with our growth strategy, which was called GARP, growth at a reasonable cost. So growth at reasonable price. We weren't interested in really big gains. We were just interested in slowly improving our position time over time. So that experience, gave me a great introduction into the field of finance. I really loved it. And from there, I did a co-op term at an investment bank, which gave me another in-look into how institutions trade money on a larger scale. And while that knowledge was very valuable in my trajectory, I didn't align with how people were trading. A lot of the questions I found myself interested in weren't necessarily questions that investors would ask before they made big investment decisions. Questions like, who is the leader of this organization? What is their vision? What is their mission? What are their values? How is this company aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? Those kinds of questions weren't yet being asked. This is now like 12 years ago. So, I mean, I'm dating myself, but it was quite a while ago. But when I worked for the university fund, I was kind of the person who said, listen, like when I'm trading energy stocks, I don't want to just compare on dividend yields, price, growth. I would also like to know carbon emissions, because this is an issue. And so if I'm trying to decide between 10 stocks, which all have very big market shares, the Shells, the BPs, those kind of companies, the next decision I want to make in order to decide who to put my money in is which ones are the most innovative, which ones are moving towards where we need to go, which at that time I was already very passionate about climate change and thought, the next criteria that I'd like to make a move on is dependent on how are they reducing their emissions? What are their environmental policies? What are their social policies? And that information wasn't available. And it wasn't even available on Bloomberg, which is like the largest trading platform in the world. Like this is where people log in and decide to move billions of dollars worth of commerce. And I thought, this is not good. Why isn't this information included on a terminal that people are making these giant decisions?
And again, this was 12 years ago.
This was a long time ago, yeah. But now Bloomberg has adjusted, so maybe I was just ahead of my time. But they have started to bring in more indicators so that people can make more aligned decisions that trend towards decisions that we have to make. So anyways, just like pursuing that path 12 years ago gave me the insight, number one, how difficult it kind of was to push people to think about these things and the resistance they had. But two, that I really want to focus my attention on, like, I really don't understand the idea of investing just to make money. That never resonated with me. And I felt that instantly. And so I decided, I got to go back to school. I'm going to go get my master's in economics, because economics isn't just focused on finance. Economics is environmental, social, and economic indicators taken into consideration. So then I decided to go do my master's in economics and round out that lesson that I had learned managing the portfolio and see if I could further dive into making more round decisions. Yeah.
That's very interesting. And if you look at the investment market today in Pakistan, we still don't have those indicators.
Yeah.
So how did you actually, even if you had that data of Shell or BP and their carbon emissions 12 years ago, how did you convince the decision makers? Or were you the one making the decisions to invest?
Ultimately, we were the ones making the decisions to invest, but we always had to go to our board and get permission. And so the way that I convinced or pushed or educated my team and then the advisors was, I mean, once you start talking about it, to me, it's very clear that this is the right decision. If our strategy of a portfolio is to invest in the future and invest in companies that are most equipped to grow within the future and support that future vision, then we want to put money into companies that are being innovative and moving towards that. And I know climate change wasn't as talked about then, but there was still, what else do you judge a company on? What is the difference between Shell and BP? Yes, they're the amount they can produce and how much oil that they're manufacturing and the value supply chain that they have. But what after that? There's so many of these companies that are so similar. I was looking for that competitive advantage, right? I want to put my money into a company that has a competitive advantage. So they're all masters at refining and delivering resources across the country. And yes, they have their different strategies, but what is the next competitive advantage? And I just believed and made the position that number one, are you becoming more efficient at doing that? Are you becoming aware that pretty soon carbon might be charged as a fee? That was very early, but we're starting to see carbon emissions being charged, and we'll see more and more of it. So what are you doing as a company to think about that? How do you treat your employees? What are your relationships like with developing countries that you're mining this oil from? I just thought all of those things were risk indicators based on what I had studied in finance. So I just made the case. Isn't this the next thing that I should be looking on in order to determine the best company to invest in with your money? And when I made that case and showed, my thought process, people would open up and be like, yeah, that does make sense. And, I was in university, and so university is quite open with respect to allowing students to discover that. So that was okay. It was when I was working for the investment banking firms outside of university that I felt like that was not as, it just wasn't important. It was like most of the economy, right? We are focused on making money. Yeah. That is our first decision. And when I just discovered how limited people's knowledge were about the companies that they're invested in, I became very disillusioned and jaded about how the whole stock market works. So I just wanted to shift and go outside of that world, because I just wanted to maybe circle back in a later, but I didn't want to be working for a company that didn't care about anything but money or had no understanding of the things that they're investing in, because sometimes these firms, these hedge funds, can make giant decisions that actually can impact the price of a commodity so significantly that it hurts a nation. And one of the case studies we learned in university was Mexico. Big hedge funds made decisions to change the price of corn so much, which is a staple in Mexico, that it put the entire country and its people at harm. A lot of people weren't able to afford a staple commodity. It created a lot of angst and pain within the people. And it was all because a hedge fund was just like, oh, I just want to invest in this commodity. They never thought of the ramifications of how it was connected to society. And that's when I was like, oh, this finance world isn't as connected as it could be. So that's when I started to shift my thinking and being like, why do I feel this way? How should it work? Or how could it work? I'm going to go get my master's in economics and see if I can round this out.
So you had a very, very interesting investment journey, and it's very good to learn that people were actually passionate about climate change back then also. And then you had data to at least think about it. Yeah. What changed your industry when you went from investment to pick my brain? What triggered it? I want to know that. How did it start?
How did I hop from economist to startup founder? So after the investment banking stint, I went and got my master's in economics, and I actually started a company after my master's called Doing Economics That Works. Huh. And that company, we had a bunch of people that were coming to hire us from our graduating class, and none of the jobs were very exciting to me. They didn't sound very exciting. So I said, hey, classmates, do you want to start a company instead? And the premise would be, so economists are very good at monetizing the unquantifiable. So economics, you learn how to influence people's behaviors and a group's behaviors and decisions through price. So economists, typically, any economist that is suggesting a policy or a change, they typically use price to influence behavior. So for instance, if I want people to produce or eat or consume less meat, let's say, I'm going to increase the price as an economist and know that that will reduce it to some percentage depending on the elasticity of that good. If I, as an economist, want to understand the value of a rainforest, I'm going to start to monetize the different components that rainforest brings. For example, what is a watershed worth? How much carbon does it sequester? What is diversity worth? And then I will find the value of that resource. And when you do that, then the value of that resource enters the balance sheet of how the economy works. Because if it does not have a value, then it will be not on the balance sheet and you can cut down rainforest for free because it doesn't matter. It's not on the balance sheet. It's not valued. So anyway, so I realized that we were very good at what we had learned through modeling and data, how to add values to the unquantifiable. And so this company that we started called Doing Economics That Works was all about that, how to add value for companies for certain things. And it was really good. We got our first 2 contracts that we applied to, very big. We were very surprised because we were just out of our masters. And that kind of set the precedent, and I'll get into how it led to Pick My Brain, because Pick My Brain is all about how to monetize the value of a conversation or knowledge, which is something that typically doesn't have a value, but there is value there, and there's ways to break that down. So anyways, I got really good at learning how to do that for other companies. How do I value when I give someone health benefits? What is that worth for a person? How much is education actually worth? What is the value of these environmental, biodiverse places? So that's what I had worked on for a number of years through this company. And then I actually got recruited to go work at a think tank called the International Institute for Sustainable Development based on that work. And so I actually left the company we started and said, I'm going to go learn a whole bunch if I go work for this company that does this internationally with like a team of 100, right? We were just a small shop, and I was like, I think I need to go learn. And so I went and transitioned and worked at this company, and that was wonderful. And I got to travel around the world and sit at these international negotiation tables to talk about how do we get companies on board with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and with staying in alignment with the planetary boundaries. And that taught me how to sit at an international negotiation table with people that don't necessarily care about these things. So you have to learn how to work with people that don't care about biodiversity or species, or, you could sit at a table and people are like, I don't care if that animal goes extinct. Yeah. And you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know you couldn't care about that. And so, just learning again how to have those conversations and value the equation such that they would care. And it was on that journey that I was working for that organization for about 4 to 5 years. And I was getting a little bit frustrated with policy. We would build this beautiful policy, it would get implemented. But then sometimes a change in government would mean that policy would get dismantled. Oh. Because, right, change in governments have different priorities. Yes. So I was like, oh my goodness, I am working so hard on a policy that I'm fighting so hard to get through the government, like already, the red tape that you have to go through.
Governments, like local governments or?
International, local, national.
So you weren't only working in Canada, you were working globally.
All abroad. So we would attend these climate change negotiations. So at the climate change negotiations, COP, the Conference of the Parties, this is where all of the countries would come together and decide together what to do. Because, so I don't know if you know, there's 9 planetary boundaries that govern the planet. Okay, that means the rules that allow the Earth systems to stay in function. If you cross those planetary boundaries, the Earth systems start to go in chaos. Yes. One example is carbon emissions. Mm-hmm. The Earth can sequester a certain amount of carbon, but if humans pass that limit, the Earth's systems start to be disrupted. They start to go in chaos, okay? And there's 9 of them. There's also, the atmosphere. There's the ocean, how much acidification the ocean can handle, how much we dump in the ocean, biodiversity, species loss. So there's 9 of these indicators, and the world knows there's been studies that, yeah, what is the limit of the planet? And the one that we were mostly primarily working on was emissions. And so if let's say the world has this line in the sand, if we pass this, the Earth system's going to chaos, how do we make sure we stay in alignment with that? Well, we need international cooperation. We need every country to know how many emissions they're emitting. And we need to aggregate that to see if it's in alignment with the Earth systems. So that's why we would come together as all countries would represent their country. Okay, Pakistan, how many emissions do you need this year? Okay, the US, how many emissions do you need? And we'd add them up. Okay, we're way over what the Earth can handle, which means that this is going to happen according to the scientists, right? And we've heard, right? We pass that 1.5 degrees Celsius, which happens, right? The oceans start rising. Weather events start getting more intense. Droughts and floods start happening at higher frequencies.
It's already happening.
It's already it's here, right? Yeah. And we're finally starting to realize it. And it was very hard back then to convince people, because it's very hard to attach that carbon emissions are as a result of this flood, right? People can't quite make that connection in their mind because it's very hard to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did need to sit at a table and decide together how we were going to do that, which required cooperation, which required policies to keep us in cooperation, right? Okay, Pakistan, you decided you're going to reduce your emissions by 20% this year. Can you please submit a plan to show us how you are going to do that? And we're going to check back in to make sure that you've done it. Same with you, US, same with you, China. And if everyone sticks to their commitments, then it looks like we might be in alignment, okay? But that was a big, are you sticking to your commitments? How good was your plan? And there's lessons to learn, as you know, with the business. Were you able to stick to your commitments? Oh, this plan that we had fell through. No, we weren't. So that's what I was in the world of for a number of years. And it was fascinating, but depressing, because it was always a second thought. People never treat climate change like a president, right? If you have, especially in Pakistan, if you have other priorities, literacy, poverty, how much do you care about climate change? Not yet.
I mean, if we're still... I bet you've heard of roti kapda makan already. The saying that we need roti is bread, kapda is clothes, and then makan is a house. So until we actually solve these, how can we actually try to solve climate change? And with such a vast population,
tricky.
Again, tricky. It's very not that tricky. It's impossible. It's very tricky.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's not impossible, but it's tricky. But then you start to see that Pakistan is in an area that's going to be more severely hit than America.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the developing countries, which is so sad, the developing countries are the most at risk for the weather events that are starting to occur. And the developing countries have contributed to the problem the least. It's not fair. And what we'd always negotiate at these tables, and I know we'll get back to pick my brain. This will all.
But this is actually more interesting for me.
This will all synthesize. I mean, I know we'll get there because it's all connected. It's this knowledge that's connected. But if we would always say at these negotiation tables, okay, developed countries, then pass over your patents and your trademarks to the developing countries to help them leapfrog. Okay, if you want them to not, right? Developed countries went through the pollution stage to get to their innovation. They got to use their resources and emit. And then they're telling the developing countries, no, you can't do that. Well, then how does the developing countries reach the level of innovation that you did on that path? You need to help them leapfrog. Pass over your patents. Essentially, I'm very much simplifying it. But a lot of the time, the developed countries were like, no, not unless you pay. I'm like, okay, whoa. This doesn't make any sense. You want the developing countries to stop. That's not going to happen. They need to innovate. The way that they know how to innovate is by burning coal right now. One example. If you want them to have solar, you either need to write them funding, you need to give them the financing to make that possible, and the patents and the education so that they can avoid the coal that you went through.
Exactly.
Yes. And that didn't always happen, and I never understood why. That was the most frustrating thing, being in that position of being like, we need to have a collaboration. This isn't competition. This is a mission base that we all need to agree on. If we want to stay in alignment with the planetary boundaries, then the US, you have money, loan Pakistan some money to make and leap them into energy independent. Okay? And that is happening. There is a bunch of climate finance that is happening. It's just not happening at the speed and the scale at which we need it to happen. So it was a fascinating job. I loved it. I still love it. I am an environmentalist till the end of my day, and I will circle back and save the planet somehow with Pick My Brain. But I found out, so enter Pick My Brain. I just got too frustrated with the bureaucracy and the speed at which people were moving and the level of cooperation and watching too many policies get dismantled because of a change in government, even though they were so sound, that I was like, this is not how I'm going to have this is not the system that will provide the solution we're seeking. And it was right around that time that I had discovered Airbnb. I was a huge couch surfer at the time. There was a massive platform called couchsurfing.org that allowed you to stay on people's couches for free. And I loved it. And it was like this platform. And I, as an economist, was always like, someone should monetize this.
Yes.
Yeah. So along comes Airbnb and they start to monetize it. And I was like one of the first 1,000 users of Airbnb on it very early. And I was just like, whoa, this platform is going to change the game. It's going to be so good.
You know, and we don't really we still don't realize the power of Airbnb even now.
Yeah.
Like we, if I look at the local examples, we have amazing infrastructure in Pakistan, people all around, but we have a lacking of hotels. Well, we have a lot of houses, we have a lot of spaces, even our beach, sea view. Have you been there yet?
I almost French Beach. That's my next. I gotta go check it. Yeah.
But the local beach right next to the mall.
Oh, okay.
Where there's all the camels and
yes, I have seen that.
So over there's so many apartments, so many good houses. They can just Airbnb them out and then have them as a resort.
Correct.
But we're not really
utilizing.
Yeah.
It'll come. Like the economic case has to be so strong and the knowledge that exists, and you just have to get a few people to use it to be like, look at what I'm doing. Right? If you go on TikTok, you can watch videos of people saying, I make $20,000 a month with just my Airbnbs.
The worst part is that those TikTok videos aren't coming to Pakistan.
Why?
So if I open the Pakistani TikTok isn't really something that we're proud of.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Because there's no information. So the TikTok in America, someone who's a millennial, their TikTok is going to be full of dances. Someone who is just graduated, not millennials, Gen Z. The guy who's just graduated, the girl, they're going to start getting these investment advices and the Airbnb advices, but we don't get that.
Interesting. That's interesting.
That's
another problem
gap
that we
in the
could
market
solve. That is a gap, because that is the knowledge that allows consumers to change their decisions and change their habits and realize that there's opportunity sitting in there.
Great reminder. I need to make a video about that.
Noted. Put it in. But when I discovered Airbnb, I was like, oh my goodness, this is just such a beautiful model. And as an environmentalist, I loved it because it was taking a shared asset that we all have, space in our home, and uploading it to a marketplace that anybody could purchase or invest in or whatever. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is going to change the world. This is going to create probably more economic, environmental, and social benefit than any policy that I've tried to push through government hands. And I was like, oh my goodness, I must be a part of this. This seems so much easier. This is such a smarter path. And I remember looking up the founders. Who founded this company? Who did this? What is this? And the founders were 3 guys that were my age. And that was all the motivation that I needed to be like, I'm going to quit my job and I am going to pursue this tech path. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be in the tech space and this development space, because they just made a platform, and I know it's going to scale internationally, and they don't need government approval. They don't need a bunch of companies to sign on, which takes years. And it did. Airbnb became an international phenomenon. And I still wish Airbnb would actually do a study of how much environmental benefit they actually introduced by just monetizing an asset that already existed.
Exactly.
Right. So that they were influential. They were so influential in my path as an economist, as a startup founder, as a business, thinking about business models, as thinking about scaling. I put my house on Airbnb right away. I was testing their model right away, making money right away and being like, wow, this is incredible. And yeah, so anyways, I ended up, that it motivated me so much that I'm like, I'm going to go pursue this. So I had to talk to my CEO and I said, I have to quit. I need to go find out this other path. Something else exists for me. And this is, I got to go figure it out. Very hard to leave because I did love my job.
And this was the same company that you guys actually built together.
So this was the international think tank that I was working for that I left. Yeah, that I quit. The Doing Economics That Works company that I started, still was, the people I went to school with were still using it as a shell to do contracts. So that still existed. But yeah, I decided to quit, and I decided to give myself 1 year of Max's university, my own university. And I said, well, Max, you went to university for 7 years to get your investment banking, to get your master's in economics. What if you made up your own university for 1 year? What if you studied anything you wanted to make the transition from economist to tech? What do you need to study? What transition do you need to go to? And so I gave myself 1 year. I called it a year on. And I convinced my boyfriend at the time to do the same with me. He quit his job and we set out to take this year on adventure to study whatever we wanted.
Awesome.
It was so fun. I actually recommend everyone doing it. I will eventually come back and write a book about why I think everyone should take their own year on and develop their own education. But on that year, I structured it very similar to university. I had semesters, I had things I wanted to learn. I wanted to study every peer-to-peer marketplace that existed ever. So I had like a couple months to do that, onboard myself into marketplaces, play with them, see how they worked. I had a section in my university calendar to learn where online education was going. So that was like 6 years ago. Coursera had just come out.
Wow.
I think Udemy was just an idea then. It wasn't even out then. Udacity existed. And so I was like, I got to find out where online education is going. That's, I feel like, part of the puzzle. And so I onboarded myself into every one of these platforms, took a course and saw how they structured their onboarding. I wanted to drive across Canada and see my country and talk to all of my friends who graduated from their masters and see what they were doing and see what they had learned. Mm-hmm. So I scheduled a month to drive across Canada and meet a bunch of people and talk to them.
Wow.
I scheduled a month to fly to Maui. I said, like, there was all these books on my shelf that I never had time to read fully when I was working, and said, I want to read like 20 books. And so I'm going to go to Maui and lie on the beach. And my only job is to read these 20 books. And so I did that for a month. That was so fun. I did a whole bunch of things, and it was on that journey that I discovered that all these insights were accruing, and I had so much room to be creative that I could exercise and follow these ideas. I had time to follow them. And so the things that kept circling in my mind as I was studying peer-to-peer marketplaces, thinking about Airbnb's model, thinking about the climate change, thinking about tech, was I was realizing that every person I had a conversation with on that journey would adjust my path, would add something significant to it. You should talk to this person, and I'd go talk to that person, and that person would adjust my life, and that person would pass me to another person. So I was learning the value of conversation, of connecting with people and asking them about, what was your greatest insight? What keeps you up at night? What are you passionate about? What do you think the world should be? Those questions would introduce me to books to read, podcasts to listen to, online courses to take, etc. And I was like, wow. I was also trying to pick people's brains that I didn't know, right? CEOs of tech companies that I wanted to be. And so I would just be writing them on LinkedIn and be like, can I just sit down with you for coffee? I would love to do this. But they didn't know me. Right. And so oftentimes those messages would go unanswered, or I didn't know when they would get back to me. And I was almost like I have a budget. I will pay you to sit down with you. I'm happy to do that. But that was really weird back then, because it's like, how do I send you money? Do I like send you an e-transfer? Do you want me to drive and pass you cash? It was a super weird request. And I was like, that's weird. And that was like floating around in my head, but I was like totally willing to, because I knew if I sat down with them, I would learn so much. At the same time, my mom was retiring. Okay. And my mom was a successful entrepreneur for 25 years and just about to stop. And we had a conversation during that time where she wanted to share her knowledge with others, but she didn't know how. And I was like, whoa, what do you mean? And I started to think about it and I was like, wow, in order for her to share her knowledge, she needs a website. Okay. She needs a calendar integration. She needs payment if she wanted to make money, and she needs to learn how to market herself. All things that my mom's generation did not know how to do. Okay. And was so much work, and she doesn't want to do when she's retired. She just wants to share her knowledge. And I was like, whoa. And I remember that night looking up how many people were retiring. I was like, what are all these people doing with their knowledge? They're probably struggling. How are they passing their knowledge back down? And I thought about it as the same as carbon emissions. I was like, all this knowledge is being dissipated. We need to capture it. And I was like, I all those things just started colluding in my mind. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I help people package, price, and sell their knowledge and share it and pass it back down? Is there a price for knowledge? How much is this conversation we're having worth? And as an economist, I can start to value it, because I can start to think of, okay, this podcast has value. You've already introduced me to someone. You already said, I'm going to introduce you to this person. That has value. My enjoyment of sitting here and sharing this with you has value, right? You can start to think of interactions as valuable, right? And certain people along my path provided insurmountable value along the way. And I was like, can I monetize a conversation? Can I monetize knowledge? Is the knowledge economy the next economy, right? And again, as an environmentalist, I never wanted to sell anything that had a product. But I was like, if I could package and price knowledge, there's no carbon emissions, there's no supply chain, there's no use of resources. Yeah. This is a very efficient thing. It's just you and me sitting here creating value by exchanging our time, energy, resources, knowledge, etc. So that idea did not leave me, and it just like planted. And that was about 6 months into my year-on journey. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is consuming me. I couldn't sleep. And I was like, this is it. Oh my gosh, this could be so big. And again, the idea of like being able to have a conversation with anyone I wanted very easily as a lifelong learner, as someone who is like addicted to learning and connecting, I was like, that is so exciting, right? Instead of like writing people on LinkedIn and I don't even know if they're giving me permission, it was like a very uncomfortable position. But if I could go to this place where everyone there is open for it, what could I possibly learn? Where could I go in this world? What does life become with that? And so that vision was just so strong. And that's where Pick My Brain was birthed. There's all those combinations of things. But from there, I had to decide, I had to validate, okay, will people pay for a conversation? Can I sell it? Okay. So yes, it has value, but will people pay, right? We know that when you start a business, you might think it has value, but unless the world thinks it has values, it's not going to be a sustainable business. And so that's when I full circle came back to Airbnb. So Airbnb had just launched experiences. So on Airbnb, you can hire someone to and their idea was you can go get an experience and go on a tour. They wanted to make tour guides possible. And I said, okay, I'll use their platform because I love Airbnb. I'm going to list and test this. So I'll list an experience. I'll use their marketplace and demand to validate and see whether people would pay to sit down and have a conversation with me. Nobody. Right? If I can do it, surely people that are much more experienced than I can do it. Yeah. So I packaged and priced my very first offer, and it was called Coffee and Conversation with a Vancouver Startup Founder. Let's talk about your ideas. Let's talk about the future of work. Let's talk about the future of education. That was my offer. I was like, okay. And I charged $50. I was like, I wonder if anyone will sit down and book this. Yeah. Okay. So I crafted it. It got accepted. And then I waited. 60 people from around the world booked and paid me to have a coffee and conversation with me within 3 months.
Oh my God.
Insane. So like every other day I was going for a coffee. I was getting paid to go for a coffee, to sit down and do this. And I was like, no way. Like, this is insane. Okay. First of all, it was so much fun and what I learned was that by giving people the permission to formally book me, it actually made it more comfortable. Okay. Because they wouldn't be able to find me on their own.
Exactly.
It would never happen. I wouldn't show up. They're not a priority, right? They're outside my circle. But this allowed us to come together, right? They'd book me, they're like, I'm interested. I'm like, cool, $50, cool. I'll show up on time. I will give you all of my energy and we will connect. And every one of those experiences was 10 out of 10 because I designed the offer. People were coming to talk about exactly what I wanted to talk about: future of work, future of education, and their ideas. Okay, so everyone that came there was doing exactly what I wanted to do, and they found value in it. And it wasn't the $3,000 that I made from just going on coffee and conversation that convinced me. It was the value beyond that $3,000 that happened as a result of those conversations. And I've said this on multiple podcasts, but like my first three experiences validate that. So first, my very first booking, that person became my very first employee at Pick My Brain. My second booking was my first investor that ended up writing us a $50,000 check.
Oh my God.
The third person that booked me, I fell in love with.
I remember that.
And had a relationship with, and he changed my life significantly. And then, there were so many bookings that changed my direction. But I realized at the end of this experience that I had a global network. And after you have a conversation with someone, people are so warm to you that they're like, come visit me in my country. You can stay at my house. Let me introduce you to so-and-so. So it I walked away from this experience in 3 months with $3,000 in my pocket, investment, an employee, and a global network. And I was like, no way. If I can do this, anyone can do this. I'm going to build a site so you can go for a coffee and conversation with anybody in the world on demand for $50. That's an economy. That's a new offer. That's additionality. That's an unlocking. And imagine if any city that you go to, you could have a conversation with anybody with $50, which pays for them to get there, which pays for it to be serious. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I could have conversations with teachers and beekeepers and politicians and chemists, people that are outside my circle. So that was all I needed to go all in on Pick My Brain. And that's when I went all in on Pick My Brain.
That's amazing.
That's really fun.
So we've been doing that, but you're right. And then just hearing about what it is different, but hearing about the whole journey and how your experience was. And then the amount of transactions that you told me that you guys have actually done through the platform is so amazing.
Yeah.
And how many people are connected now? I forgot the number.
So we have 10,000 people who have booked a session on Pick My Brain.
Wow.
And we have just over 1,000 brains now.
So
and
brains are the people who
sell or gift their knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah. And buyers are the ones who decide that is valuable and want to. Yeah. And awesome. Super brains are brains who have done over 100 bookings.
Wow.
And we have a few of those now too.
And they can be either free or paid, both.
Correct. Yeah.
Just have to be 100 bookings.
If you're a super brain? Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Totally. Just 100. That means you've shared your knowledge. 100 people have found your knowledge valuable. You have passed down your knowledge 100+ times. That is such a significant contribution to society that we want to reward that. And as we get bigger and as we scale our mission, I will be rewarding. I'll have people that give 10 sessions, 100 sessions, 1,000 sessions. I just passed my 1,000th. I'm very proud of that. I hold that as
the person who's done the most.
Yes. I've been on it the longest.
Yeah.
And I use it for everything, right? As the CEO, that makes sense. But I have people that are catching up to me, which is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm very impressed. This man, Perry, has done over 500 bookings through the site. God. This man of Valdez did over 150 in like 3 months. Ooh. Super power, helpful user. I've had users who have booked over 50 to 100 sessions, just being so curious about the world. Wow. So that I also want to reward them. I think any student, any individual, as a CEO now, if someone told me that they have done 100 conversations, I'm going to hire them more than anyone else that has not done that. It is more important to me that you have connected with the world and broadened your perspective and proven that you can hold a conversation than a degree now for me. So I hope someday that Pick My Brain, you can submit, look at how many conversations I've had. And that means something, because as a CEO, I'm like, wow, you're connected. You have a network. That's valuable to me as a CEO, if you bring that to my company. So I hope someday that Pick My Brain, the number of conversations, and this is why I say do it through the platform, because it's all recorded. It's a date, right?
Oh.
So it can become another like significant certification in a way. Cool, you have a degree, cool, you have a certification, but wow, 100 conversations with people from all around the world. That's another bonus. You know, that is worth something for any company. So I hope that becomes, and same thing on the other side, you've given 100 hours. That's beautiful. You deserve a star. That's an incredible contribution to society. You've passed your knowledge back down. You shared your time, knowledge, and experience with someone else. So I think those two things are things that I just want to inspire people to do for the rest of their life. And they can do that through Pick My Brain forever.
That's so amazing. What do you have planned for Pick My Brain in the future? So what are you taking it up to? What's happening now?
I always say I want to build an Amazon-sized marketplace, but on our marketplace, there are no products. There are just conversations. That's what we buy, sell, and share, and knowledge. I have this reoccurring dream where I'm sitting on a stage with Jeff Bezos and our values of our company are behind us.
Wow.
And Pick My Brain surpasses Amazon. It's a far-fetched dream, and I say, hey, Amazon, like Jeff, I did this without any products, without any shipping, without any packaging, without any carbon emissions. Did you know that? And like, no, that'd be significant. And it could, like, even imagine LinkedIn. Okay. So LinkedIn, there's 143 million professionals on LinkedIn. I believe that every single one of those professionals could offer a free 30-minute session and a paid 60-minute session. Definitely. That right there unlocks $1 trillion economy. If they just opt into that, they just click that on, and that becomes culture. It becomes normal that you can talk to anyone in the world free for 30, because we decide that giving back our knowledge is important. And that if you want to do a full session, it's paid, because that is a lot of energy. That is a massive economy. So I want to take Pick My Brain all the way there. I want 196 countries on Pick My Brain. I'm at 88. I want complete country representation. I want complete diversity. And I want it to become so normal that you can talk to anyone in the world and you give as normal and as easy as it is to buy a product from anywhere in the world and have it shipped to my door. That's insane that we figured that out. You know, Pick My Brain is actually easier.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. You don't have the supply chain.
I mean,
you don't have to
need the 50 planes that Amazon has.
Exactly.
You don't need the warehouses. You don't need
packages. Yeah.
Thousands and thousands. Is it more than 100,000? I don't know how many employees that Amazon even has.
Yeah, I don't need any of that. Isn't that crazy? So you know how they always said like Airbnb created more value than the Hilton without a hotel, without real estate, without Pick My Brain's going to be the same story. Okay, Pick My Brain created all of this value with just people, just doing this. Yeah.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. So you've been in Pakistan for a while now.
Yeah. 2
months. 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's a long time. What are you planning for here? So you said that I'm doing this. It's so much. It's overwhelming. It's always learning. But what are you planning now?
Pakistan was never on my radar. Okay. It was never on my, you know how everyone's kind of got a path and you kind of know, like I never thought to go to Pakistan. And I was never introduced Pakistan. I don't know much about Pakistan before I came here. So this is totally serendipitous. And this is what happens on Pick My Brain. So Pakistan happened because of Pick My Brain. So all these crazy things always happen when you list your brain that you can't even think about happening. Like there's so many, like I didn't think I was going to fall in love because of a conversation. You know, I didn't think I was going to get investment because of a conversation or an employee. I didn't think I was going to go to Pakistan because of a conversation, but I did. So anyways, how I got here, and then I'll transition into what I've learned since I've been here and now what I want to do in Pakistan now that I've been here. I was in Austin. We were looking to raise money for Pick My Brain and just move more into the US market. And someone saw me pitch Pick My Brain on stage. Someone from Pakistan named Taha Memon. And he really loved the vision. He also is very he advocates for sharing your knowledge, right? When you share your knowledge openly and you don't hold it, good things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so he resonated with what I was saying on stage. So he followed up, booked a conversation. We went for dinner, had a very good meeting. That meeting turned into multiple meetings. Those multiple meetings turned into like a month of hanging out. And over that month, he slowly made the case for me is that you should come to Pakistan. I can super connect you. And I think bringing Pick My Brain to a country like Pakistan, a developing country, would be a fascinating and impactful pursuit. And then started to share some stats. You know, Pakistan's a very young nation. It has a lot of young professionals. A lot of people in Pakistan don't get the opportunity to travel outside the borders. Okay, so global perspective is super important. Pick My Brain offers you global perspective. Can I come to Pakistan and offer people that can't travel still the opportunity to travel, but from the comfort of their home? And so these resonated with me. And then he said, listen, you can stay at my house and I will super connect you, because coming to Pakistan by yourself would be very challenging, I think. And I said, okay, I can't say no to that. Yes, I will come on this adventure and stop what I'm doing here in pursuit of seeing if we can come up with a playbook to introduce knowledge sharing platform into a developing country. Could this leapfrog a country, just like I was working on before, right? What are things that can leapfrog countries? And to me, knowledge economy is one of them. Just jump over to the knowledge economy. It's way better than the service economy, or it's got additionality to it. So anyways, I came and have for the first month just listened. Okay, I met as many people as I could, and I just started listening to the country and what the people were saying and how it worked. And that was fascinating. And getting in touch with like how wonderful the people in Pakistan are. Like I've traveled the world and I have yet to meet a group of citizens as warm and as inviting and as hospitable as Pakistan. It is remarkable. It is so remarkable. I could have a whole hour-long podcast about it. Makes me cry thinking about how warm it is. And I just wanted to know why. Like, I'm always like, how did that come to me? Why are they so warm? Like, what in their history gave them this competitive advantage that is not seen on the global stage? Okay. Other things started illuminating themselves to me. How many university graduates are graduating every year, and the disparity between graduates and getting jobs. That Pakistan is surrounded by dictatorship. Okay, we've got Afghanistan on the border, we've got Iran, what's happening in Iran, and Afghanistan is still a democracy. You know, it struggles with it's medium, it's half and the half, but it's fighting for it. So then I'm like, oh, it's super important that Pakistan keeps talking, right? That the citizens keep discussing that they want this.
Definitely.
I started to learn that people have so much to say here. They know a lot about the history of the country. There's so much history here. There is so much, there's just like so much to know about India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, about the governments, about the change in governments, about the struggle, about the inequality, about the literacy, right? There's all these problems to solve. And I, as an entrepreneur, freaking love solving problems, right? We all of us entrepreneurs can't stop solving problems. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many problems here, but there's so many solutions. And so now that I've been here for a month, the applications with Pick My Brain that I see bringing the most value to the country are a few things. Number one, I want to get the country talking. I really believe that the more conversations a country, a company, or a community has, the more innovation, the more possibilities, the more opportunities, the more collaboration, the more value unlocked. Okay, so at Pick My Brain, we count our success. Our number one KPI is how many conversations do we facilitate? Okay, not how much money we make. How many conversations? I want people to ask, how many conversations have you facilitated? So can I get Pakistan to have more conversations with each other through both the platform and these networking events that we host that I could bring here that says, hey, Pakistan, you want to network with each other once a month minimum, every month as a nation, and start talking about some of the hot topics that are here: illiteracy, politics, education, social welfare, climate change. Like, there are some hot topics here in this country that everyone here needs to talk about. Can Pick My Brain help facilitate the space to do that? The second one is the youth. You know, there are so many, there's so much intelligence in this country, and and it's not being utilized, and the world doesn't know about it. Okay, so Pakistan is terrible at branding and marketing itself. Absolutely the worst ever. If I was to rank the countries in the world, and I haven't been to them all, but it's on the bottom.
Oh, it's one of the bottom.
Which is so sad because there is so much to brand and market here. There are so many stories. And I'm like, you guys, you just need to figure out how to do that, which Rayhan School is starting to teach, which I'm so proud about. And it is a revolutionary act because it's not there yet. Like in my life, I have never seen an ad for Pakistan. I've never been to a Pakistani restaurant. Okay. But your neighbor, India, I have seen countless ads about come to India, what India looks like, why I should travel to India, right? And I've heard of countless stories about India's revolution of becoming the IT, exactly, right? But Pakistan right next to it, you guys have everything that India has.
Horrible at PR. That's only
terrible.
With two brothers with bad PR. Right?
Yes.
With bad PR.
So Ken pick my brain. Okay, could I, by building a profile, let's say for 100,000 of the top students in Pakistan, and putting them on a marketplace, and saying, "Dear world, do you want to hire someone from Pakistan?" And you guys have the price competitive advantage here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But you have the culture competitive advantage. I don't want to focus on just the price. Yes, competitively to North America, it is so affordable to hire someone here. But secondary, I want people to know that when they hire someone from Pakistan, that comes with warmth, that comes with hospitality, that comes with introductions, like that comes with this other thing that other countries do not have. Okay, hiring someone from Pakistan, very different than hiring someone from China, let's say.
Oh, 100%.
Totally different feeling. And Pakistan needs to get on the map. And I think the best way that Pakistan can brand and market itself is by doing that. So it has to showcase its talents. And I think Pick My Brain can help it do that because our profile is built in a way that shows you off in a powerful way what you are all about. And it allows you to be shared and searched on a global marketplace. So number one, we gotta list everyone and get them searchable and viewable and seeable. Number two, we got to package an offer that the world knows about. Dear world, did you know you could hire someone from Pakistan for 3 months for 100,000 rupee or 150,000 rupee or 200,000, whatever it is? Okay. Did you know you could get it and you could meet any of them and feel how freaking nice? Okay, you'll find out how nice they are.
Exactly.
Okay, but here's the marketplace. Dear world, shop Pakistan. Okay, so Pakistan needs its own marketplace. Okay, the freelancing talent here is dispersed on Upwork and Fiverr, and you can't understand what Pakistan is through those portals. It gets lost, right? Because it's a global pool of talent where the price is driven down, and that's the freelancing market. It works, sure, but I think Pakistan could have a go. I think it's a worthy cause and a worthy of investment to build its own marketplace. So those are the things that I'm most interested in doing here now that I've listened and heard and believe that could start to put Pakistan on the map, because it needs to be on the map. And I think being here, I want to become an advocate. You know, people are always looking for the newest thing to do. I'm like, cool, you want to go off the beaten trail? Go travel to Pakistan. Reverse your image of that it's a dangerous place. Everywhere is dangerous. You know, every country has its stuff.
Yeah.
And while Pakistan needs to work on a few things to help that tourism, the garbage, you know, the pollution, a few other things, it has so much to offer. And it is one of the most fun places that I have traveled. I've never been able to have so many conversations with people so quickly. Okay. I can have conversations with vice chancellors at universities and the Higher Education Commission and CEOs because someone WhatsApp me an introduction. That doesn't happen in North America. Okay. Pakistan needs to know that is so valuable. And because you guys have that collaboration already baked into your culture, you can move faster. And I want the Global South to move faster. They have something special. I did think they can if they figure this stuff out, right? Yeah. There's a few things that it needs to unlock. So,
of course.
So all those things are keeping me here because the potential of them are massive. So I wrote on my LinkedIn, you guys, if we just found 100,000 students, a 3-month paid internship at even just 100,000 rupee, that is like a $200 million US, or I got to convert that to, it's such a big number that I can't even do it in rupee, like billions, $250 billion opportunity for something so achievable.
100, a billion rupees.
Let's say $1 billion rupee opportunity. Let's even just go there, which is a % of your GDP. By only getting 100,000 students, a 3-month internship.
An internship only leads to a job.
Exactly.
And then that's
yes.
internships always multiply.
Yes.
So in wages.
Yeah.
So
And 100,000, there's 500,000 graduates every year. It's only 20% success too.
Yeah.
I'm not starting at that. It's achievable.
Like it should be mandatory for
Mandatory.
every graduate
Yes.
to be present online and just present yourself.
Yes. And it should be available. This isn't just specific to Pakistan. I, as now a CEO, want a global marketplace. Okay, let's go global again. As big as Amazon, where I could strictly shop students. Why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Why can't I hire a student anywhere in the world easily for 3 months to see if they're a good fit? And for them to see if I'm a good fit. Okay, students want to test culture just as much as I want to test students. It's a win-win. So why isn't there why could there not be? And this is what I love to do. Why not? Why can't I go for coffee and conversation with anyone in the world? Why can't I hire a student, anyone in the world, via the click of a button? If I can get a product delivered to my house, certainly should be able to hire someone via the click of a button, right? For 3 months. Not a big deal. Simple contract. I think that is a massive unlock. Okay, so I love thinking about things that unlock, and Airbnb taught me that. They unlocked a shared asset, but now I'm unlocking human capital. Okay, little different, has its challenges, but totally possible, right? 100%. I feel like if I go to an investor, do you believe that this is possible? Yes? Okay, this is the economic value that it would do if it is. Here's the plan where I think we can get it there. I'm going to work with universities. I'm going to work with partners, and we're going to chip away until we get 100,000. It's totally doable. And Pakistan, the way you guys communicate, it could happen fast.
Oh, yeah.
So I am addicted to that potential. And I keep staying here and being like, who wants to work on this with me? Okay, and I just posted on LinkedIn, hands up, and I had like 25 people reach out and sign up for a brainstorming session to talk about it that I didn't even know. And everyone's like, I can help, I want to help, this is it. So I'm like, cool, what if I stay for a month and work on this? Is it possible? Can we get some funding? Maybe we don't even need funding. So yeah, that's just like, it's just like a very like, it just makes me like excited.
It is something very exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying and thank you for thinking all of these things, and I wish you best of luck. You have all of our support already. And anything you need, we're here. And anyone in your network or our networks, whoever's watching, if you can think of a crazy idea, go on their platform, talk about it, refine it, and then just start it. Because once you talk about something, you already find partners or people who can support you.
That's it.
And it's what the knowledge economy has been all about. It's how you can monetize it at the same time, make some money at the same time. And we can change things. I mean, we can. Even the carbon footprints, all of these things, even if someone has 1,000 conversations on the platform, and those 1,000 people who they do have a conversation with plant one tree, that's 1,000 trees.
Exactly.
I mean, this is a little simple example, but so much that can be done.
So much. It's the potential is like overwhelming. Sometimes it feels like the universe is just ever expanding, and it all starts with a conversation. And so for anyone who's listening, I challenge you, okay, because I think every human is capable of this, to just go meet 10 new people this year. 10, one a month. Go on the platform and think of someone that might be able to add value to your life, that might be able to introduce you to a new idea, that might just be simply interesting, and book them. Literally, it will change your life. And if everyone in the world booked 10 conversations, the world is a different place.
Yeah, definitely.
We are more warm. We are more globally empathetic to one another. Maybe there'll be less conflict because we realize across the table that the neighbors that we're bombing, we're just human beings, right? And conversations lead to that. Yeah. So my call to action is always, we have a challenge at Pick My Brain, and it's called Meet the World's People Challenge. And the challenge is to book 10 conversations. And if you do it, we will issue a certification to show you that you did something. You do believe in diversity. You do believe in empathy. You do believe that other people hold knowledge. So go book a conversation, and you have no excuse because everyone on Pick My Brain is open. We have onboarded them and gotten their permission, and they want to have their brain picked. So go pick it.
Yeah.
And ask them, even if you don't even know what to ask one question. How did you get to where you are? Tell me.
Oh.
That's it. And do that 10 times, and you will learn so much. I can't even tell you. But yeah. So anyways.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's been over an hour.
Oh my gosh.
And we have to finish the podcast now. But Maxine is available on Pick My Brain and LinkedIn. So pick her brain, ask her about her journey whenever she's available, of course. Join her events because she's on a very big mission to help you, to help people around us. And again, I wish you best of luck. She
Thank
has
you.
all of our support. Everyone who's watching, 100% they're gonna support you. And because it's not that it's rare to find people who want to do good in the world, but people who are actually doing it full time, it's
that's true.
It's still pretty hard to find them. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And again, I am very excited to see where this goes.
You gonna commit to 10?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I will.
Well, thank you for letting me share my story
Thank
with
you
your
for coming.
audience.
It's
Yeah.
great honor.
Startups, entrepreneurship, starting your own new business. Join me every week as we dive into stories, topics, and advices from the top founders, innovators,
The crazy ones, the misfits, the troublemakers.
every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll see you there.